Welcome everyone, Dr. Thor here. Get ready for Christ consciousness, otherwise known as Gnosis. Well, I've been getting some interesting emails lately of people inquiring about what is the Akashic record. Now, this is one of the many terms that have been thrown around for years through the, I don't know if you call them the New Age, the alternative, whatever you want to call it. For years, people have been talking about the Akashic record. I'm not sure where this originated from. Of course, it's an original Sanskrit word as primary substance. Well, let me give you what a little bit definition that was given to me recently, which I think sums it up. The Akashic record are non-physical realms of existence which function as an energetic vibrational storehouse of the cosmos, the soul of the world, or the memory of God, so to speak. We are able to access this realm through intentional, heart-centered prayer to retrieve guidance, compassion, information from our masters, teachers, and loved ones. These retrievals assist in healing, clarity, empowerment, and recovery and realignment of self. Akashic is a Sanskrit word which literally means as a primary substance, or you could say source, and points to this stuff that holds everything in its rightful place in the fabric of the universe. This substance is light. Within itself lies the imprint of every thought, word, deed of all beings since there's soul's inception, meaning all knowledge that has ever happened in reality, and we don't know dimensions or other things, lies within the Akashic record. The records have been recognized in every spiritual tradition and have been referenced for thousands of years. Well, this is a very, like most things out there, it's very misunderstood. What does this mean? It's like pentagram. What's a pentagram? Pentagram is a Greek word meaning 5 points. Well, that doesn't really sum up a pentagram, does it? What's the meaning of a pentagram? And what is the modern interpretation of it? Trying to go back to ancient times or saying, well, it means this in this tradition and that in another tradition. It means something in witchcraft and this from the Christians. Well, this is where everything becomes very diffused and confused. And one of the problems in life is that if you study anything long enough, you will find two answers. One that validates what you think it is, and one that dismisses and invalidates what you think. That's the funny thing of life in general. You will find information on both sides. And I've talked about this. This is the illusion of knowledge and the way disinformation in this plane of reality works. What you have to do is take both sides of the information and find the golden mean, or synergistically put the two together and come up with what's called truth. So that's what we run into, and very few people understand that concept. It gets just so dissipated in spiritualism and religion and personal ways of looking at things. You individualize a larger concept based on your own personal prejudice, and you take something that is common, make it special, and then trash it down. This was covered in the Matrix, Simulix, whatever that is. You take something very sacred, and all of a sudden it ends up on your dashboard as an image. So you took something very high and kind of brought it down into your basic life. Now, the problem with basic life is now it becomes part of the basic disinformation world. So, now, if this concept, if you want to look at it as this giant library, and you go to this astral library, that's non-physical library, in a place I'm assuming is not easy to get. And then you go in there and you get the information you need. And we look at this in a very physical reality. So you go into this physical place, the spiritual, physical, non-physical, physical place. And you go up to the librarian and say, oh, I'm looking for stuff on that. What is astral projection? So the whole idea is then, and then of course you're guided to the information on that. Now, there was a fascinating TV show, one of my favorites of all time, called John Doe. This came out in the late 90s, or was it the 2000s? It's hard to say. A TV show on Fox where this guy knew everything. He knew absolutely everything. What's the population of Mississippi? What's the population of Memphis? So, how many scientists died this week? So all the things that happened, he knew absolutely. Fascinating TV show. It's unfortunate that it only ran a few episodes. You can hunt that up somewhere. John Doe. Really a fun show. Very well done by that actor. And I'm intrigued by it. I still watch it every few months, the series again, because it's something about it never gets tiring. And it's so well acted by that actor. You just really find it fascinating. And there's a mystery behind it. How did this happen? Who's after him? People think he's God or not God. Who is he? Why does he know everything? And of course, by knowing everything, he also knows the stock market, how to make money, so he became very rich. And that's what I like as well, because they showed what you would do if this was the real world. And why do I bring that up? Well, that guy basically, in a less spiritual fashion, accessed the Akashic record. He knew everything. And as such, he applied it directly into the physical reality. Now, everything we have, too many mumbo-jumbo spiritual people talk about everything in this non-reality world. And of course, it sounds warm and fuzzy. It's like landing on giant marshmallows. Ooh, isn't that nice? And what does it mean? It means nothing. When you talk in hyperbole, is a spiritual babble, you get nothing from it. These things, like we have horrible terms we use out there. Things like making love. Well, no, it's not making love. It's sex, baby. And if you want to make higher levels of sex, you are really taking a physical act and making it into something that's not. And then, of course, everybody's confused by it. So why don't we take going to the bathroom and call it love relieving? Everybody love relieving. Oh, it's wonderful. So the point is, no, that's not what it is. You're getting rid of waste, which is a necessity. So the whole idea is that let's stop euphanizing everything and making it pretty. And this is one of the problems I had when I first started involved on this path when I was about, I think I started very young, but I consciously remember things probably 10 years old. I had older brothers, one that was 10 years older and one that was 5 years older. So there was a higher level in the family in terms of people, and this was the 60s and 70s, mostly the 60s. So everybody was into yoga, dude, and TM, and Lord, even the Lord of the Rings was big back then. God forbid. Now, I wonder why people are screwed up from that psychotic Christian author, who then writes about fantasy. How bizarre. But the bottom line is that everybody was into this. So I was at the very young age, and they had yoga TV, instructional on TV. That's when TV, everything was centered around TV. But you could watch TV, particularly that was on the public service time, PBS, I believe. And you watch Richard Hittleman, a very famous yogic guy. And he had whole classes there. And I used to watch it all the time. I bought his books and was practicing yoga. And when it's very deep states, opened up all my chakras and was even at levitating at like 12 years old. Now, we're not flying off the ground, but I actually was able to lift my body energy to a degree. So the whole idea is that going into these things, we get into these spiritual concepts. But, I went through that for so many years and found that was kind of empty. I don't like the fact that you're nothing in the universe, you're just a speck of poo on the world of feces, and we know nothing, we are. No, we do know something. We are something. Unless we get our intelligence and we understand that we are essential energy in the universe that has impact on all of it, we'll never get anywhere. So I don't like that. I don't like their... generally, of course, the Indian people are far from non-aggressive. I mean, they conquered most of the world. The British used them to conquer China, and the Indians have been used as military forces for a long time, as well as being butchered by the British in their typical way. Oh, let's shoot a David and have a cup of tea. It's wonderful. Let's go praise the theater, because they're all Germans anyway. Well, the point is that gets us to another issue. But the point is that as you get involved in all that stuff, you need to understand. So this stuff about certain people have certain powers, certain people can do certain things. Well, this is true. And there are people with amazing abilities. And these people are not going to show you, teach you, or anything else. So The bottom line is that but this is not something they can generally call upon. They tend to be people that are not centered in society, meaning they're not going to be a stockbroker. They're not going to use their abilities to make money. Now, there is two people that do make money, and let's go back to stock. Your average stockbroker who's nothing overly special, and your average military people. They're trying to survive. Military people will do anything because it's war. So if you tell me to chew a Tootsie Roll and this is going to stop a bullet, well, you're going to do it. If you want to make gross, horrible amounts of money and you're a stockbroker and you tell them, hey, well, hold this stone, they're going to do it. They're going to try it because it's very difficult to make lots of money and continue to do it. So these are the two people that, oddly enough, we've gotten a lot of, quote, occult science information from. The military can't wait to get into those areas if it works. The problem is you're dealing with people that are too base levels of both of these to really understand what's going on there. So you run into all sorts of problems actually because of that. But again, I wander through the woods. Throw the whole idea is that the Akashic records, if this existed as it is gossip to be. And again, this is New Age gossip. These are the kind of things you get from Shirley MacLaine, and then she has nothing to show for it except for the fact that I hate my kids and I want to keep all my money. And who can I screw to get ahead? And then I want to be wisdom. That's my problem with a lot of these New Agers. They're foul people who take on a new belief system for personal manipulation, not for betterment. So it's just an excuse, just another way to be a rotten person. And these people do nothing. Then there's this whole aura that anything can be done by some of these spiritual people. Now, this has never been true. Ultimately, throughout all of life, the superior military power has always won. It doesn't matter whether you're a pagan, it doesn't matter whether you're a Druid, it doesn't matter whether you're a Roman, it doesn't matter whether if you're a pagan Roman, it doesn't matter if you're a Christian Roman. In the end, oddly enough, the Christian Romans were beaten by the pagans who came in and beat them, mostly because they were so decadent, not because there was anything military there, because quite frankly, nobody could beat the Romans. Certainly those naked, blue-painted Celts certainly couldn't do nothing, or the backstabbing people from that entire region. So it was a fallacy. They were weakened. They hired all sorts of mercenaries, and of course, nobody wanted to fight. They wanted to watch sports. Matter of fact, there was a time that a whole country that the Romans were occupying was taken over on a Sunday because everybody was watching sports there. Nobody gave a damn that the other troops were coming. They were too busy watching sports. Sunday football? Sounds to me similar. So, this is right. But the point is that we seek out people that think they know something. And everybody's saying, well, why can't I go here and find the answers to everything? Well, there are ways to do it, but not in this primitive, very kind of ridiculous way of looking at things. This is what literalists do. Born-again Christian. Yeah, what it says in the Bible is 100% true. Yeah, they parted the Red Sea. Yeah, that's right. That's right. That Jesus dude did that. Or wasn't that was it Moses? By the way, there is no Moses. There never was. There may be a Mises that came from Egyptian history. There ain't none. None of those stories are real. They're stories. They're mythology, and they're meant to teach you a lesson. But the point is that everybody wants that, because everybody wants to go up there and say, how do I seek? Because you're seeking power. You go up there, and I don't know if you're looking for specific answers, but you're seeking general power. And if it was that easy, if people could just astral project into this great hall of knowledge, then we would solve all our problems as well. But, life is very complicated as well. We have all this, all of our problems have been solved. And this is something that people don't understand as well. And, kind of wander into all these areas because it is important, because you got to understand the fallacies of so many beliefs. We're seeking answers, right? We're always seeking answers. People are dying right now. Probably a lot of people right now know somebody who's dying right now. For no reason, by the way, because we have cures for everything. Now, how long you can live is another thing. But we have cures for everything. People can't afford to to power their homes, pump water they need. Most of the cost of a lot of businesses, like airline industry, the second cost after personnel is fuel. Truck drivers, a large part of their profits, if fuel goes up a few dollars, well, they lose a lot of money. People are wasting hundreds of dollars a month spending it on energy to turn our electrical appliances on, well, this could be used in the economy to create jobs, because you don't create jobs by paying your electric bill. So once the wires are put there, once stuff is paid for, and once there's a certain amount is taken in for maintenance and for people to keep the operations running, it becomes nothing more than a cash cow. So we have free energy. We've had it for years. So there's another issue here, is that getting the knowledge you want, is it possible? Does that mean anything? Well, it doesn't. So we have free energy. It's called hydrogen. Any internal combustion engine built today, and every single automobile manufacturer has a hydrogen car ready to go now. Not electric garbage built by a madman out of some bad James Bond movie, that if you portrayed him in that movie as he really was, people would laugh at it and think, that's not real. No, it could be that screwed up. So the whole idea is that that's the reality of it. So going in there and getting the information that you are seeking is generally called the process of gnosis, or Christ consciousness, being the highest level of thinking. And I always have a problem with that term, because people think that Jesusism and Christianity, which is supposed to be going for Christ consciousness, not going for Jesusism. And there's a difference. There's churchianity and there's Jesusism. These are fouled, human, disgusting paths. So it doesn't matter how good the information is, you're going to get foul humans to apply it, so you've got a problem again. It's just like having the cures and having free, nobody's going to do it. They just won't do it. Oliver Stone has come out and said that he wants to push nuclear energy, a horrible thing to do. Well, we still have so much nuclear waste that is being disposed of by just being thrown in the sea, because nobody knows what to do with it or doesn't want to. It's notorious in the United States that the mafia takes nuclear waste and then pours it in some lake somewhere and pays people off around there. How nice. Thank you, law enforcement. So the whole idea is that this is how all these things work. So it's a nice, warm and fuzzy. I always call it the Disney movie. When I grew up, the Disney, it's so warm and fuzzy. Oh, it comes out nice in the end. Like American TV shows, particularly that you used to see in the 90s and everything else. And still, I guess, to this day, you go to these people's and they were normal houses or normal families. And they all lived in these beautiful giant homes, which would be upper middle class. Basically, rich people lived like that, but they were showing that as how everybody lives. Totally unrealistic. So the whole idea is that knowledge and finding truth is not necessarily anything that'll work. So it's more complicated than that. So you have to reach the state above human. You have to reach gnosis, or Christ consciousness. And then everything comes to you. That's how it works. There is no hall of knowledge. And I don't know who would be granted that and what would you go into. You're looking for Coca-Cola's recipe? Yeah, what are the secret ingredients that's in there? Well, what's the point of it is what I'm saying. So you find out the perfect free energy, the perfect cure. You bring it down to mankind and say, look, I've got this perfect cure. F off, mister. We don't need that. Did you get it from Satan? That ain't science. Oh, no. Is that based on quantum physics? Or how about the physicists? Let them look at the perfect answer. Yes, we know we're Caltechies. Well, this doesn't add up. Einstein didn't say it. His theories prevent it. My feet hurt. I can't run fast. Certainly not the speed of light. Close, but it can't go faster. My feet hurt. So the whole idea is we run into all these things, and we have this problem of all of it. So there's a multi-layer here when you reach a certain level. But the bottom line for everything in life is that you got to stay away from these namby-pamby, goofball, new agey concepts of, I am God. Bring God into you. You don't know what God is. This is the most absurd thing in the world. And of course, this is the concept, and rightfully so, that Christians seem to don't like. As a fact of is that, that's what Satan and Lucifer and the fallen angels did. They said, I'm as good as you, and I'm not kissing the ass of mankind. Screw them. We're in control. And I'm not too crazy about you. So this is it. Because I'm just as good as you, God. Well, The bottom line is that generally isn't true. Now, you're not as good, and nobody can reach the Godhead, meaning the ultimate God. What you reach is the level above man, where you reach a state of gnosis, where you then understand everything. And one of the things you understand is you understand that you ain't God. that is an impossible concept that we can't even comprehend as humans. God is the ultimate creative force, and nobody can do that. You can mess with the creative force. You can draw it to you, as we do with informational energy fields, which basically is God. And what you're doing is you're working with those fields, but you can't manufacture them. You're manipulating them. You're forming them. So the whole idea is we have to understand that anytime you get past those things, it's pretty childish to think that you can even comprehend what, quote, God is, whatever that means, period. But ultimately, it means the creative force of the universe. It makes stuff. God makes stuff. And we can, getting into the rest of it because you're a childish coward and want somebody to sit on your shoulder. Oh, turn right, turn left. Don't eat poo. Oh, thank you. I didn't know that, God. So the whole idea is that that's the reality of it. So how do you reach these stages? Well, you have to reach the stages by identifying, and this is the state of gnosis. This is Christ consciousness, meaning the Christ level. It was Jesus the Christ. The image, or the highest level people were trying to release, was Christ consciousness, the solar God, where you understood everything. So I don't think people get that at all. But Christ was not Jesus' last name. Mr. Christ, your table is ready. So the whole idea is that this is nice. This is not how it goes. So we have to understand the reality that is going on here. So all of life works out best when you make the right decisions. And life is about making the right decisions. So should you drive home plastered? You're drunk. You can barely stand. Give me my keys. Is that a right decision? And you do it anyway, and you get arrested, thrown in prison, or maybe you ran into somebody, you kill somebody. That's a bad decision, isn't it? Probably is a bad decision to get that drunk to begin with. So you start making these decisions in life. Now, the higher level of understanding you get to, you start making better and better decisions. Your life improves. And then, of course, once you take care of the basic stuff, you start looking at, is this a smart thing to believe in? Does it make sense to believe in a vampire religion where you're eating flesh and drinking blood? Is it good to believe in a comic book God that rises from the dead? And of course, these stories have been repeated thousands of times through every religion. There's certainly nothing new about it. And I was wondering, where was man 2,000 years below the new religions? Oh, God just deserted you before that. That makes sense too. So the whole idea is that all of this is ridiculous. So if you're seeking knowledge, you have to then understand to look at things from the Christ consciousness understanding, the gnosis way of doing things. That's why I point out in so many of my lectures about politics and things that are going on. Things like fake wars. Oh, these poor people. Yeah, that killed 1.5 million Jews that are run by Nazis. You know, the Adolf Hitler division that runs the Ukraine. Is amusing. Yeah, but they cover it up. There's a Jew that's president. Yeah, you think he's in charge? Well, he's in charge of stuffing billions in his pocket. But the whole idea, do you get that? Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. These poor people. They're poor. Oh. And of course, demonizing people who are trying to protect their country and their citizens and their way of life, which is a large part of what the Soviet Union is doing. And they could have annihilated that country easily if they wanted to. They were blackmailing them and stealing billions of dollars a year, charging them to run pipelines through there. Yeah, America would tolerate that. Yeah, really. So the whole idea is that we invade a country if they throw a Coca-Cola can on the beach. So the whole idea is just ridiculous. So all of these things that go involved with this, you have to have the higher consciousness to understand. So that's why you have to interpret things. So that's why I talk about the things happening around you and understanding not what the media tells you, not what all those bogus, bullshitting, boring boobs tell you. Your teachers, your politicians, your parents, all the idiots, probably your friends, all the stupid stooges that don't get anything except what's forced down their mouth through the media. They can't think on their own, so they just take everything else. And it's easy to be caught in on this. You know, what is illness? What is not? We got, Do vaccinations work? Does that? So all these things are the type of things that go out there that we get information on. So we just don't know how that works with any of these things. So you have to have a higher level of understanding, and then you have to take general information to a degree. Now, there's a lot of information out there, and people have to check with those that have some credibility. So you have to then figure that out. Well, how are you going to figure that out? You figure that out because you're in a state of Christ consciousness. You're able to discern the truth from the lies. And that is what is called accessing the Akashic record. You're able to tell truth from a lie, and you're able to find information. Now, it's amazing how the minute I get started on something or I have a question about something, I start to, and this has been called in many ways synchronicities, which I'm not a big fan of Jung, nor his beliefs on any level. What you do is when you're a person seeking gnosis or Christ consciousness, and you're at a certain level of evolution, you'll stumble into it. You'll click on something. You'll go from one place to another. You'll find some link. Maybe you go to a website, but let me check the reciprocating links here. And you'll find a link that'll take you down a completely another path, or often called down another rabbit hole, which are just about endless. And that may take you somewhere else. But see, now you're on the path and you're away from other things. On the other hand, it's just information. How are you able to ascertain if that information is nothing more than idiot opinion, okay opinion, expert opinion, and whether it is truth? That's the other problem. Because everything is written about everything, and I see nothing but inconsistencies and misinformation I run into. You can get information from somebody, and a lot of it is good, and some of it is just completely wrong because they're repeating information from someone else that they thought was credible, who is not, because they don't know everything. And they may be good people, but that area they got the wrong people who apparently care, who are so-called honest people, but they're not looking for information to discredit what they know. They're looking for information to confirm what they know. That's a big error. This is all part of finding truth. You're looking for truth, and if that truth is totally counter to what you believe in right now, then you have to switch over to the truth and drop what you... Oh, I can't do that. I've been doing this for 20 years. I believe in this. I preached it. I wrote books on it. This is what Einstein did. The day he died, he believed in a theory that he knew was wrong. He knew it was wrong. But he wasn't going to do it. His whole life was made on that. His legacy is there. And he's got a whole bunch of boobalicious nonsense followers of his that to this day think that what he's written has some value. When it was disproven the minute he said it. And he didn't say it, by the way. He didn't invent it. He wrote 4 pages explaining somebody else's theory. And people said, oh, I get it now. You're a genius. Even though your math is wrong and everything else. So this is what you got, and these are the problems you run into. So the Akashic record is as simple as that. It's getting to a stage where you can identify information. There's no place to go to get information. Now, a lot of people go inner, and of course, you'd have to astral project there, but where are you projecting to? You're basically projecting to your higher self. And in your higher self, you're seeking the truth. That's really what you're talking about. Enter the Akashic record hall or library. You're entering your higher self to get the information you want. Now, people take this literally. They're going to say, well, if I combine how do I make lead into gold? How come I want to go to the Akashic record and figure out how to do that? Well, you never, like most spiritual things, you never get exact answers. And you don't get exact answers to things that can potentially upset the balance of society. And that means anytime winning the lottery all the time. Well, if you know how to do this, you're going to do it. And if you do it all the time, well, you're going to be in big trouble. They're going to come and get you, kill you, throw you in prison, and say that you rigged it. So that, like psychics that contact the police and say, that murder, I got a vision of that. Oh yeah, I'll sit down here and can you put your hands out for a minute? Click, 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 click. You're under arrest. You know too much. You killed him, didn't you? Tell me. We're gonna beat you with this pipe until you say yes. And this is what happens with all these people, and this is what happens with psychics. And psychics that go to the police are the dumbest mothers on the planet, or even work with them in any way. These people are not on your side. So the whole idea is that these are the type of things that you have to carefully look at out there and understand the bigger picture. And, psychics are very dumb people as well, working with authorities that are causing the problem, not solving it. So the whole idea is you go to your higher self, you find the information, but you're not generally finding solutions such as that. You're finding answers to personal questions or guidance to find somewhere else. So the whole idea is to be sent down or given the opportunity to figure it out yourself and be guided to that place to find it. Popping in your head, getting a book of instructions, all these things is very, very rare, and it doesn't work like that. If it did, everybody would be using it and the world would be a mess again. So if everybody could win the lottery, guess what? There wouldn't be a lottery, would there? There would be no point in having a lottery, because everybody would win it all the time. They'd have to figure out something else. So understand that. And the people that do, if there are anybody out there that have systems that know how to do things, well, they're never, ever going to share it. You can't get people to share much of anything you talk to them. I can't talk to other radionic people and have them share what they know and what they're researching right now. They want to keep it to themselves, even though they're really not making that much money from it, but they're not interested in sharing it. They don't care. As I've talked to one radionic practitioner several years ago, but nobody's sharing information on their technologies to any great extent. Nobody is talking or doing anything else because they're self-centered people that only care about themselves. And it's a business, and you're a business competitor. So it doesn't work like that. So you're not going to go in there and get that information. And as I said, the ultimate problem is that anybody who has any kind of powers, and I've really never seen it, from anybody, and people aren't so apt to prove it to you either. Why should they? They don't have anything to prove to you. I don't like being on a monkey on a stick either. But the whole idea of people manifesting things, and I've tested many people, see if they all fail horribly, by the way, and they fail time after time again, and they're unable to manifest to any consistency whatsoever, particularly for others, which is very difficult. So they may manifest, but even when I tested people on their own lives, they didn't do too well. But they really thought they did. So these are all the problems you run into, and you have to have outside sources. But the Akashic record is being in a high state of consciousness, or Christ consciousness, or in a state of gnosis. Some people call it the Buddha head, where then you make all the right decisions and you kind of know everything. But you don't know how to turn lead into the gold instantly. I guess if you really wanted to look at that, once you get to that stage, you could probably find some way of doing it. But most people that reach those high levels are not overly interested in things such as that anyway. But ultimately, physical things like that is not what is considered. Now, alchemy, which was its base understanding is turning lead into gold. People thought this was alchemy, but the ultimate alchemy is transcending your person from a base person to the state of Christ consciousness. That's what it's all about. So that's what real alchemy is about. It's not about lead to gold, even though that's something that has been experimented with because of the tantalizing and great payoff of that you can transmute it. But that in itself is a great spiritual process where you're able to transmute one energy into another, otherwise known as informational energetic fields, where you're taking energy or even a solid object and converting it into another solid object of a different makeup. So it all gets back to that same subject as well. But there is no place you're going to go to get that kind of information. It's a spiritual journey. And as you go on this journey, which is fraught with problems because your head is full of poo from all of your belief systems that you have gotten over there. And they're enforced all the time. I think everyone goes through major struggles, or at least 99.9% of the people are going to confront horrible problems the minute you start thinking differently. And this usually starts right within your family. Your parents, your brothers and sisters, and of course they're hooked to churches and political systems and everything else. So it doesn't matter what that is. People think some are worse than others. I don't think so. They're all worse. So you're going to go loggerhead with your family because you're not following that tradition of lying, corruption, and nonsense that they are. And they're bought into the system. Your mommy and daddy bring home a check every week that says, I'm in the system, so I'm allowed to survive. So they're going to fight for that system, and they're going to fight for it against you. So that's the way all of these things go. So it's not something you can go to. It's not a physical structure. Anybody who says that's true, well, okay, you go and get me an X amount. Tell them to get information on this. And they'll give you some, I can't do it for you. No. This does not work like that. They tell you all this nonsense. It's either a library that has all the information and you can find out what that is, including next week's lotto numbers, or it's just a bogus spiritual concept invented probably by some yogi or something that doesn't know anything and is too busy picking your pocket and checking out your girlfriend. So the whole idea is that's where most of this stuff comes from. So that's the way life is. So hopefully that's clarified everything and we can cross off one more metaphysical understanding of what the Akashic record is and all that goes with it. Until next time.